Good morning.
Hi.
How's it going?
Just fine. Oh, look at you over in a different position.
You know, I was trying to decide how I feel over in this spot, and I don't know. I can't decide.
Well, you seem to have sunk kind of low into that huge butt print that was left there.
That explains the smell, and I don't know why, but it kind of like it's eating me. Ah. Oh gosh, man, that is a big butt print.
Tough way, yeah, tough way to start the morning, huh? Filling that big seat.
You know, yeah. So, good morning, everybody. Today is Thursday, January 6th. And in case you're wondering what the heck Ryder is talking about, I don't know. We've all been wondering that for 67 episodes now. But actually, what he's talking about, for those who aren't on video, is Ryder is remote today.
Remote rider.
Yeah, it's like we need a sound effect here, something. He's beamed himself in over light speed, and today is January 6th, Thursday, which I might have already said. This is episode 67. Ryder, any idea what we talked about yesterday? The Daily Ryder quiz.
I really should have thought about that.
Wow, good thing, man.
I think there were two things. I think we talked about two things.
Well, let me ask you this question: would you consider it like a painful thing when you hear me sit here and ask you what we did? Would you consider it
Do
painful?
I consider it painful? No, I don't consider it painful.
Well, what about pleasurable?
Oh, jeez. No, I don't consider it pleasurable either. Is there a space in between? Could we,
No,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
a 1 or
So
0.
we did talk about the pleasure and happiness, and I went off on long tangents about things that I had listened to on podcasts. It was glorious. If the world is ever saying, more cowbell, except for more Ryder talking ad nauseum about things, then that was a good episode for it.
Ryder, did you say you were in marketing? Because your sales are just on point.
No, it's amazing, right? I'm somehow employed while I do the undersell thing. I'm like, you really don't want this. It's amazing, but you're not going to want it.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, give it to me. And I was like, no. I'm going to have to charge you a whole lot more because I don't want to give it away.
I like it. Yeah, so yesterday we talked about pleasure, and we talked a little bit about, well, first off, start talking about what is it at all in the first place, which was kind of an interesting question because we, it's not a word that at least Ryder I had really ever tried to define before. So that was kind of interesting thought experiment to get ourselves thinking about what the word actually means. And then after that, we kind of moved on to talk about, well, if pleasure is a good thing, pleasure is about, positive feelings, happiness, and also one of the definitions, I was actually, I guess, a little surprised, but the verb definition was strictly sexual, and it says like, and then the suggestion sentence was, how would you like to be pleasured, or something like that. I was like, hey, go dictionary, I like it.
No.
And I mean, I
Yeah,
definitely
I think
heard
we've
pleasure used in the sexual way, but I was surprised I was in the dictionary.
yeah, I guess the dictionary's trying to do a good job keeping up with the way we actually use these words. Like,
Yeah.
I wonder if, like, wasn't it biblical that to know somebody was a sexual term?
I don't know. That's a good
Yeah,
question.
yeah. Anyway, sorry,
No,
tangent. Yeah.
sorry. Is that what you say right after sexual pleasure? You just sorry.
After I know somebody, I say
After you-
sorry.
So after we defined it, we talked about, okay, if this is all good things, these are emotions that are positive. Like, is there a reason why we shouldn't just try and maximize that? Why we shouldn't just do all the pleasure, right? And maybe some of our listeners out there can think of some people in their lives who do prescribe to that philosophy, where it's like, I'm just going to do all the pleasurable things. And But we talked about the hedonistic treadmill. What was that, Ryder?
Yeah, the old hedonic treadmill. It's the idea that you're chasing or pursuing pleasure, and then one of the problems with chasing and pursuing something like pleasure is that it's addictive, and you're always going to need more of it because it does. You can't get the same boost from the same amount. You have to continually go up and increase the level of pleasure that you need. So one of the issues with pursuing pleasure is that there's never really going to be enough. So you're always having to pursue more. This makes you run faster and faster on this hedonic treadmill of pleasure seeking. And over time, that becomes your life. It starts to subsume everything else. The only thing that you're left with is pursuing more and more novel situations for pleasure. And at some point, this looks more like an addiction that is damaging rather than something that is healthy. So, the idea that you're pursuing pleasure at one point in the beginning probably looks healthy. And at some point, it slips into a damaging addiction.
Now, did you say subsume or did you say consume?
I think I don't know.
I
Uh,
think you said
sub
subsume.
sub
So what does subsume
Subsume
mean?
is a little, yeah. That's kind of one of these things I've kind of picked up from Hegel. What the philosopher, he talks about subsuming things. So it's it's kind of taking them into yourself or something like this, and then moving through them.
Say that
So
one more
it's
time for
not
me. Sorry.
it moving through them, I think, is one way to talk about subsuming. So consuming, you know, you eat it, it goes inside you, right? But to sort of subsume things is kind of a I'm trying to think of a good way to talk about it. You know what? I'm going to do the thing we did yesterday, which is
Well,
look it
cool.
up.
And then while you do that, I will, make really funny jokes. So, there's assuming, which makes an ass out of you and
Yeah.
me. There's subsuming, which makes a sub out of you and me. And then there's consuming, which makes a. So, what was that definition you were looking up?
Yeah, I I looked it up, but it's in a teleprompter, so it's showing up some backwards.
Wait,
It's
no, our
to
secrets. This isn't a
absorb
scripted
in.
show. What are you talking about? Teleprompter?
So it's to absorb or subsume under two broad categories to so absorb in something else. So when Hegel talks about it, it's usually taking two binaries and you subsume the binaries. So you take them into yourself and ground them through a singular sort of principle. So it's to take the idea is taking two things and absorbing them together and so that they basically cease to exist or you move through them. So that's what, anyway, I might have been using that word wrong. Once again, I've been trying to use a philosophical word and it's probably just popping into my brain for no reason. But
So,
yeah,
I presume you were trying to use it the right way, but I don't know.
that happens when you assume through a presumption.
So when we were talking about pleasure
Assumption.
yesterday, and then we talked about this hedonic treadmill. I keep saying hedonistic, but hedonic treadmill. And then after that, so basically the main takeaway is, hey, even though it may seem like it's good at first, it's probably not best to do that as at least as your own only focus, right? So then you mentioned something called more enduring values, and you were saying how, hey, if you pursue something that's more like an enduring value, you might receive pleasure as either an effect or a symptom, if you will, of as you are going for that one thing. Maybe it's something you're working on, maybe it's some hobby you're doing, maybe it's something that is going to have more lasting and more enduring benefit, but it happens to give you pleasure as well. Did I kind of recap that part all right?
Yeah, yeah, that's just it's sort of the idea that yeah, pleasure and happiness are often found as a byproduct. Of course, you can set up situations in which they're more likely to happen, but pursuing them outright might not be kind of an amazing goal because it has so many sort of other slippery traps that you can fall into along the way.
Yeah. And then any other recap on pleasure before we move back to the video game, which is our second topic yesterday?
No, no, I think, well, we did bring up briefly like utilitarianism, which is more of a broader social and ideological, even political movement about, you know, wanting the most good and happiness for the most people. And that's a broader thing than sort of the individual idea of what you do with pleasure. So it's a societal version of it. And so those are all kind of things worth looking into more and talking about is is happiness something that we actually want for everyone in society? Because of course there's articles that come out that say the 10 happiest cities and what you need to, move here, do these things, or yes, we want happiness for all people. And then other people will say, well, no, actually, we don't. We actually just want equal access or something like that. We don't actually need happiness. We need egalitarian access to things. So we could sort of in the future maybe jump into some of that. I'd have to do some research because it's all fuzzy right now in my head. But
It's been
yeah, might be a
subsumed.
fun topic.
Uh, so so yes, yesterday after we finished talking about pleasure, we jumped over to video games. Well, actually, before we talked about video games, we talked about how Ryder pleasures himself, and we talked about how I pleasured myself. And one of the ways I get pleasure is from playing video games. And so we brought that up as a topic. We talked about it through the lens of pleasure a little bit. We also dabbled a little bit into kind of the architecture and design aspects of video games, but we just kind of barely scratched the surface of that because there's so many things we could talk about, and there were a couple of cool videos that we shared yesterday as well that were along those same topics. So for today, actually, our challenge for yesterday. Let's see. Our challenge for yesterday was around playing a video game. Yeah, that's what it was. I was, hey, go play a video game. And, for people who hadn't played one ever or in a while, it was like, just pick one, play one. It could be a phone game. It doesn't have to be some big planned thing. But of course, if you know someone in your life, or especially if you have any youths in your life who have a video game system, like it would not be a bad idea to go play with them. And well, not the youth, play with the video games alongside the youth.
Yeah, getting whew, uh, language usage. Whew.
Yeah,
Quick,
words matter.
juke, jive, move around
uh,
it.
and if you had played video games a lot, the encouragement was to, hey, try something you haven't tried in a while. Maybe it's a different platform, or maybe you've never tried it, or maybe it's a different game type. And we also talked about, hey, maybe you normally play single player, maybe try playing multiplayer, or maybe you're playing shooters, maybe you should try a role playing game. So using video games as a way to, yes, they give you pleasure, but you also can get some value out of them. And we also talked a little about how video games find that right balance between, hey, doing work, having you do work, and growing and doing something that's difficult, but not so difficult to where you're not still getting pleasure out of it. And that's the fine line that video games try to run all the time. And one of the things that kind of talks about that and how it can actually tie into learning was a video by Mark Rober, and it was called the Super Mario Effect. It was a TED Talk he gave, so we linked that yesterday as well. So that is. Oh, actually, I had a couple of people reach out, or one person reach out yesterday, and they were saying, "Hey, you may have already looked into this, but one of the things we mentioned yesterday when we were talking about pleasure and the federal poverty line came up." And I was like, oh, well, Ryder actually happened to know the federal poverty line because I had to figure all that out when I was
Yeah.
figuring out health insurance as a self-employed individual. And the person who wrote in was like, hey, can you get on Medicare or sorry, Medicaid whenever you are below a certain amount of money? And the answer to that is in Texas, you cannot, but in other states you can. And so I read or saw a little article yesterday that was talking about that, and it was showing how much money Texas has not accepted. It's called a federal Medicaid expansion. And so in 2022, Texas is leaving $15.3 billion, and then that leaves 771,000 people with no realistic access to health insurance without that Medicaid expansion, because it leaves these people in this weird spot where they basically they don't make enough money to get help, and so that's a fun little thing that changes from state to state, and so that's one of the things that I got to participate in, which was, again, a nice little difference from coming from California, which is quite on the opposite end of things, coming to Texas, where for those who are like, what the heck is he talking about? In Texas, for you to get financial assistance on your health insurance, you have to make at least 100%, between 100% and 400% of the federal poverty line. And the federal poverty line for two people in your household is around $17,000, give or take a little bit. And so if you don't make at least $17,000 in your household, you won't get any assistance on your insurance, which, as some people might imagine, as a startup that's largely early on in its revenue stages, that is one of the challenges of trying to get assistance for health insurance. And as we talked about on Tuesday, I believe, that's a factor for people when they're quitting. And hey, if I got to quit and I either am not going to have health insurance or I'm going to have to pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars out of pocket, or maybe for some people it could be over $1,000, then that's going to be a factor in quitting. Now, I do want to also point out, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, I happen to know two people that are in their 50s that pay $3,000 a month for insurance.
Wow.
So it's not just a couple $100 when you're a private business owner or you're self-employed, and especially if you have any kind of medication that you're on, it is, I mean, 3 grand a month.
Yeah.
That was more money than when I first started teaching. That was my entire salary.
Yeah, and honestly, if I get up to that point, I might very strongly consider moving, because yeah, that's kind of crazy. And actually, that's something that some people do. They will go and basically go get all their health insurance or health care in another country, right? And one technique done with dentists is a lot of people go down to Mexico or up to Canada to go get those types of things. But health insurance is a nice, hairy topic that we could talk about a lot. So we're going to put a pin in that one for today, but not too far, because if it breaks skin, we'll have to go to the doctor, which we can't afford. So that's it for our wrap up. Let's go ahead and roll that intro. Helpful for life. And welcome back. This is What the Hell is Water? I'm Reed Garcia.
Ryder Richards, remote writer.
I was like, he's not on a couch. What's he gonna say? He can't be
I
doing on a
know. I
couch.
totally stalled out there. I was like, I don't know what to say. Yeah. I do have some lovely fart art behind me. So if you need
Yes.
some, nice paintings in your house that are just cartoon farts,
Yeah.
they're for sale.
Please. Yeah. Please, actually, hit him up. And then, Ryder, I know that's mostly in jest, but also slightly serious. So if someone wanted to do that, how would they do that?
Oh, yeah, I think you could just contact me. I have several websites, but one of them is writerrichards.com, easiest one to go to, and you can contact me from there if you're interested or want a price list for any of the work that I create. Um, it, I end up having a roughly within about a year or two of making things, I tend to sell roughly half of them. So there's some items I have and some I don't, but I could send you an inventory sheet and you could look through and see if you wanted something.
Yeah, and I think we're gonna have to do some walkthrough of some of your inventory one of these days, because if nothing else, I think it would be interesting to see. And also, I'd be curious to have a little bit of discussion about how much the art you make affects you and who you are, and what your thoughts are and all that kind of stuff. Because certainly as I've become more of a creator and putting more things out there that are outside of myself, I think it shapes a little bit who I am and what I'm thinking and that type of stuff. So I'd love to have that conversation another day. So writerrichards.com, is that what you said?
Yeah, that's the easiest way to find me.
All right, and spell that for our audio only and or
Yeah,
dyslexic listeners.
Ryder is Ryder, like the big rental trucks, and Richards is Richards.
Awesome, thank you. And so now, oh wait, hold on. Actually, I think I have a
You
thing
have
for
a
that.
fee.
Let's go. It is now time, ladies and gentlemen, for our speed round. This is the first time Ryder is hearing about this, so we will see how it goes. How full of hot air is he? No one knows. Ryder, today we are going to rapid fire some topics from A to Z. So we're going to spit something out, see what it is, and we have a minute and a half to talk about it, and then we're going to go on to the next one. And
Oh
actually,
man.
I am changing that from a minute and a half to a minute and 10 seconds. Dun dun dun. It's getting shorter already.
Do we
All
wait
right.
until it hits 110? Oh, there it
Mm.
goes. I'm
All
already
right. So
losing
I'll
time.
I'll I'll press start here in a second, and the first letter is A. All right, writer. Assholes. Tell me about assholes.
They're like armpits.
Yeah.
Everyone's got one and they all stink.
Do you when I say assholes, how many people pop into your head?
None.
Hey, that's good.
Yeah. No, not into the whole hate thing. So
I
just
like
moving
it.
past that.
That's good. Hey, smart. And I gotta say, for me, when I think about assholes, the main thing I think about is defecation. Because
Yeah, I immediately thought literal buttholes.
yeah,
Like cat butts was my first thought.
yeah. Well, having two cats, I could see that,
Yeah.
and having to clean up after them all the time, and also, I know you're not about that hate thing, but I imagine having cats. There's some times where there's a little bit of animosity towards these things because I've heard some of these felines can be a little feisty.
Yeah, when they put their nice little cat butthole all over your pillow right before you go to sleep, not cool, right? So that's that's maybe when they become assholes.
I'm curious, is that smell or is it just like, why'd you do that?
Just why'd you do that?
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, when it comes to B, bananas. Do you like bananas?
Yeah, sure. They're
Because
fine.
I met somebody and like we're like going through pastries or desserts or something like that, and it's like, oh, here, try this banana one. They're like, I don't like bananas. I'm like, I don't know if I've ever met anyone who doesn't like bananas before. Like they
Yeah,
seem
that's
like
kind
the
of a
most like
weird one.
universal fruit, you know?
Yeah, yeah, almost. I mean, they put them in parfaits and sundaes and stuff, right?
And you can make a little gun out of it. You can
Yeah.
you can
So here's
they're
the thing:
hardy. You can put it
how
in
do
your
you
pocket.
peel it? Do you peel it from the long end or the
Ah,
little stubby end?
well, ever since I learned from our monkey brethren that if you peel it from the bottom, you actually pinch from the bottom, you can do it more easily or efficiently or whatever. That's how I started doing it afterwards. What about you?
Okay. Yes, same. Favorite condiment with bananas.
Oh, well, I can't think of banana without banana split. So it's got chocolate probably is the best one when I'm scooping that out with the banana. But also, bananas Foster is a pretty amazing dessert that's relatively easy to make that anyone can do. And C, give me something for C, Ryder.
Oh man, I just thought cat, but let's go catalytic.
Catalytic. Okay. Yeah. So I got a call a month or two ago from my RV storage place, and they said, "Hey, just wanted to give you a call that somebody broke in and started stealing a bunch of catalytic converters from the storage units. So you might want to come check out your RV just to make sure. I think you're probably okay because where you are in the lot, but just wanted to give you a heads up." It's like, "Oh, okay, cool, cool. You have video footage?" And she's like, "Oh, we do have cameras." Yeah, and I was like, "Oh, well, how long do those cameras last?" "Oh, 30 days." I'm like, "Oh, okay. How long ago did this happen?" 20 something days ago, maybe. I'm like, "Oh, okay. Thanks. Appreciate that."
Oh,
So yeah, catalytic converters, easy to steal, especially in an RV.
and why would they steal them?
Because they're easy to sell, and actually, I think actually within them there's some valuable material. Kind of like some people will go break into houses and bust into the walls to get copper pipes and sell the copper. I think it's the same kind of thing like that. So D, daddy issues. Do you know anyone with daddy issues, Ryder?
I have dated several people with daddy issues.
Nice. Did that play out in favorable or unfavorable ways for you?
At first, I thought it was going to be favorable, but it turned out to be unfavorable.
Yeah. Were you able to have some pleasure from these daddy pleasers?
Well, I became, I knew them, and then I apologized and then ran away.
That's pretty smart. I don't know off the top of my head. Nothing immediately jumps to head of someone that had daddy issues, but I certainly had some mommy issues, and so it's an interesting thing though how many effects that has, and a lot of times I think the bigger one is how many effects it has without people realizing it, and it's like, oh yeah, you don't, oh, you have problems with authority. Well, maybe that might be because your dad used to yell at you all the time or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. I think everyone's probably got daddy and mommy issues, no matter what.
Yeah, that's the truth. E, got anything for E?
Oh, um, energy. What do you do to keep your energy up, Reed?
Strippers and coke, man. Strippers and coke. It's very
Wait,
sustainable.
strippers keep your energy up? I
They
thought they
do.
like were vampires. I thought they took it.
Nope. Oh, Colin Robinson, the stripper. um, no, so to keep my energy up, one is sleep. You know, it's one of those things, especially here in America, where people think, "Oh, what's the first thing to go? Oh, I need to do more. Let's sleep less." Right? And there's been so many studies that say how important sleep is, and that's I take them seriously, and so I try and get a good amount of sleep. I've started to do more. I use the bedtime feature on Apple on iOS, and I've talked about it before on the show. But the benefit of that is 1 hour before I actually want to be falling asleep, my phone goes bum bum bum, do the little lullaby song, and then you could be in a group of people, and like without me having to say anything, my phone has now said, "Hey, it's time for bed. Y'all need to get out." So it's actually been kind of nice, and it helps force me to go to bed when I maybe don't want to. So what are we on? F.
F.
Uh, let's see. Fear.
Fear. Ooh. Ooh. Mostly I have a fear of flatulence.
Ah,
That's yeah, double F.
did you actually ever have a fear of flatulence?
Yeah, yeah, in church.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why I was always afraid that when I was trying to slip out a silent one, it would somehow come out really loud and be really
Same thing
insulting to
with
God.
prayers. You're
Yeah,
just like, oh dear God, oh dear God, oh my God, I'm feeling the Lord within me. Uh,
I didn't go to that kind of church. I went to the
oh,
one where we all just silently brooded about God. Um,
was that the the one line marketing letter? Come to Churchy Church, where we all silently brood about God.
so go to yeah, brood or go to hell. Like it was something along that. It was much more along the lines of at least the way I remember it was much more along the lines of like you're all going to be damned if you don't. So yeah, but flatulence in church, it was like laughter. I thought it would be contagious. Then everyone would start farting.
It's like the thing I think of is like a bunch of explosives. Like if you're doing a
Yeah.
controlled demolition, like one starts at that would be very amusing to watch. G, what you got for G?
Oh, nothing. I am blanking.
Garcias. Besides me, did you ever interact with Garcias?
Yes. Yeah, I played basketball with a Garcia
Was he a
back in
white
high
Garcia
school.
like me?
No, no, he was not.
No one
he
can be
was
a
a
white
he was a
Garcia
little
like me.
thuggish. Yeah. Ding.
Did that
No.
make him a good basketball player?
No, I don't know. I guess so. He definitely didn't mind throwing some elbows down in the paint. Yeah. But yeah, he was actually I had one of my best no-look passes ever to Eddie
Ooh.
Garcia. Oh
Nice.
yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. So
I forgot that you played basketball, and now I feel like we need to play some basketball. Uh,
yeah,
and I
I'll
also
just
think we
roll
should make
my
a music
ankle and
video on the basketball court.
well, it'll be a short video. We'll have about 10 seconds until I roll my ankle. And
I
then
like
just
it.
it'll be just me laying there going, ooh,
Oh yeah.
ooh.
You ever seen the Family Guy where
Yeah,
Yeah, I like it.
that's gonna be me.
H, you got anything for H?
Oh, hot dogs.
Hot dogs. Okay, do you like hot dogs?
No, not
Not at
really.
all. None of them.
I mean, I'm very mediocre on hot dogs, but I find it interesting that they're supposed to be this like great American food. Like you're supposed
Um,
to go to baseball games and eat lots of hot dogs or
well,
something.
the term that I hadn't really learned, or at least I've forgotten and learned again, sometime until the last year or two, was tube steak. Have you heard that one before?
Yeah, yeah, I have, but not in reference so much to hot dogs.
No, that's what it is. It's a steak inside a tube.
Yeah, yeah, well, I don't think it's steak.
But yeah, I'm kind of the same with hot dogs. Although I will say we definitely had them for sure in college and maybe after too. they're good to have in the fridge is like, hey, I don't have anything right now. I need something low effort, and let's just get some food. And they last forever in there, right? So, but I will say there are definitely a lot of ways to zhuzh up your hot dog to make it a lot better. And one of those is to split it long ways down the middle, fold it flat onto a skillet, and then maybe even, excuse me, press down on it some, and it gets a little
Yeah.
bit blackened. That makes it a lot better. And actually, one of the best dogs I've had is called a Dodger dog, and it's called that because outside of Dodger Stadium, LA Dodgers, and they wrap it in bacon, and then they serve it with diced onions that have been grilled too, and that's
And they
pretty
deep
solid.
fry it. They have to
No,
deep fry it, right?
no,
The
it's just
whole thing.
wrapped in bacon. It's
Oh, but
basically fried in all
and
the
then
grease.
covered in chocolate.
No,
I,
that's the
I
Texas
saw it.
State Fair. That's the Texas State
Oh,
Fair.
okay.
uh, Ice cream.
Ooh, have you had the boozy ice cream down in McKinney Square area?
Yeah, we'll give them a free shout out. It's a place called Cocktail Creamery, and they used to be in one location. Now they're within the Pantry Restaurant. So if you're ever in McKinney, Texas, you can go check it out. They have, I believe, over 80 flavors. Last time I talked to them, they said they were trying to get to 99. And it's ice cream where they actually mix in alcohol to the ice cream, and it's frozen with it. So you have it, and it's got that nice subtle boozy taste. But it's not like, oh, hot. Alcohol kind of has that burn, that heat, if you will. But since it's with the ice cream, it's very pleasant, and you can have it whatever flavor you want. It's really nice. So yes, the short answer is yes, I have. Have you ever had an adult milkshake?
Oh, milkshake with booze in it? Nope.
Yeah, yeah. I've had like one or two and made one or two, but yeah, with those, Cocktail Creamery probably does them just with their boozy ice cream. But at a lot of other places, they literally pour in the liquor into the milkshake, and that one's good and maybe a little stronger. So I like that. What letter are we on now?
J.
J. Jews. Jews.
Oh, hey, just finished up the series last night, Nazi Hunters,
Oh yeah.
on Amazon with, I guess, Al Pacino in there.
How was it?
Um, I feel like it kind of got off the rails at some point in that it was like maybe like every episode had three twists in it, or is really like, I don't know. At some point, I just kind of lost the plot and we sort of dropped the series. It's not like I actually lost the plot. I just wasn't concerned anymore. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, this is just going to keep going and
Yeah.
going and go. And there's going to be more betrayals and switch arounds and betrayals and switch arounds. And eventually I just get exhausted. But, overall, the premise is kind of interesting, and it also goes back to the thing that we've talked about before, where the Nazis are this bad guy that everyone gets to have in every show,
Hmm.
and it allows all the good guys to get away with any kind of atrocity they want because the Nazis were once so bad.
Yeah, and related in some way to that is the idea of the Ubermensch, the
The
Superman. Yeah,
Silbermensch.
which
Yeah.
we've talked about before as well. And then also Shabbat was another thing we talked about Jews in the past as well. For those who are wanting to hear a little bit more, Kay, Korean food,
Oh,
Korean
what?
barbecue specifically,
You know,
or you can take the abstract, whichever one you're feeling.
no, I'm coming at a blank here.
Beam beam bob.
I'm
You ever had Korean barbecue?
I don't think I have.
Oh, Ryder. Okay, we're gonna go play. No, we're gonna eat first and then go play basketball because Korean barbecue. For those who aren't aware, it's actually a genius business model because it's one of the few places where you go to a restaurant and then you cook the food yourself. And so I'm like, man, you guys are smart. But typically it's often all you can eat, but not always. And there is a grill in front of you, like a flame grill, and they bring you out basically plates of raw meat, and it's thinly sliced, so it cooks pretty quickly. But then you lay it out onto this grill, and then you cook it and you eat it, and it's delicious. And it's also a fun experience, especially. I mean, really, it's fun with just two people. It's also fun as like a larger group, and it's usually a cool vibe in those places. So if you've not been to a Korean barbecue place, check it out. You can even the great thing, especially as coming from Texas, like you like meat, okay, you're probably gonna be okay in Korean barbecue because it's just you got a bunch of meat and you actually have some tasty sides and sauces too. L.
Llamas?
Llamas. Yeah, I actually like llamas a lot because I went to South America for 3 weeks with my brother and we saw plenty of llamas. Have you had any interaction with llamas?
Not a whole lot, but I have a friend now who is dating somebody who is raising llamas,
That's
which
fun.
I think is an interesting animal to raise. And then they were having trouble with like coyotes recently because one of the llamas was injured and then the coyotes took it down and so there's then there's now this vendetta against the coyotes and and all this kind of stuff and I don't know. I just they're interesting looking creatures. And then the
Yeah.
idea that somebody in Texas is raising a whole pack of them, I'm just like, do you shear them? What do you do? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, here's my little keychains that I got as
Oh,
my
nice.
little memorabilia. But yeah, llamas are interesting because they're pack animals, and they herd as well. So kind of like a donkey here in America, where you'd load up a donkey with your stuff and carry them around. That's often how people use llamas, and they. In the game Minecraft, you can have llamas and you don't even have to tie them together. They'll all just herd and pack together. So you just pull one on the rope, and then all the rest of them follow. So I'm sure that's how it works in real life too.
Oh, no, yeah. Well, it does, interestingly, horses tend to also like follow each other. So if you have like a lead horse or a lead cow,
Yeah.
that actually does work that way. I've had more experience in my life with that.
Well, good for you. I'm proud.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks.
uh, manliness.
Ugh. It's so hard to ever be manly enough.
Uh,
It just
I've never
whatever
had
you
that
do, you're
problem.
just never quite manly enough.
As a man with a scarf, I can't really take you seriously.
I know. I actually put this on to reduce my manliness so that you would feel better about yourself.
Make yourself more relatable. I like that.
More professorial. This way you can make fun of me easier.
Yeah. One thing that popped in my head is something called the art of manliness. Have you ever heard of that before?
Yeah, podcast.
Yeah, it's a podcast and I guess a lifestyle type of brand. And it's been a while since I've looked at it, but I think he was kind of doing things in the right way. But like I said, it's been a while since I've looked at it.
Yeah, I've listened to, I don't know, probably 15 episodes over the course of 2 years, so I'm not like a steady follower, but every now and then there'll be one that pops up and grabs my attention. The first one I ever listened to was about work and leisure, and I thought that was an interesting topic, and he did a good job covering it.
Yeah, and if I recall correctly, I think he's financially independent. For those people who've heard of that term, or FIRE, um, financially independent, retire early. It's an acronym. I think he talks about that stuff as well. And he may have even built his own house. I could be wrong about that, but that sounds vaguely familiar. Um, all right, in. You got anything for in?
No.
No. Okay. No. Is that a word that you are good at saying, or is that something that you need to stay more?
No. uh, no, I'm not really great with no. I used to practice a lot of yes, and so that does make it more difficult to turn on the no. There have been times in my life when I've become better at saying no, and I think other aspects of my life thrive when I say no because I do have a tendency to pile on too much. So, yeah, I'm reading a book right now called The Courage to Be Disliked, and it's actually the second time I've read this book. And a lot of it is about being okay with saying things like no to people.
Yeah.
And because naturally you think if you say no, you're somehow going to offend the other person, but that's not really the way it works.
Would you consider yourself a people pleaser?
Yeah, I'm kind of a middle child as well. Like I am a middle child, but it's sort of a middle child only son. And then you fit in the kind of people pleaser tendency on top of that. And it's yeah, wanting to make people happy.
Yeah.
That's
So if
that's
you
a
are a people
drive.
pleaser, you may or may not realize it, but no is something, a muscle that you might want to start trying to flex. It's good for you, and also, believe it or not, it's good for other people as well. And something else that comes into mind is boundaries, which we'll probably be talking about next week with Eric Wooten, I believe on Monday. So tune in for that. Um, oh, hmm,
Mhm.
hmm,
Hmm.
orange.
Orange.
The color of the the
The
countdown.
timer. Yeah, we just look around and see things. It's like playing
I
with
spy it.
cars.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So there's a whole bowl of oranges sitting in our house right now. I think oranges have an amazing smell to them. It's one of my favorite scents. So if I can buy like a soap or something that has like a citrus orange scent to it, I don't know why, but I feel like clean and luxurious with that smell. So
Yeah, I
that's
gotta know.
yeah.
Are you uh, a pirate? I mean, are you trying to
Yeah,
avoid scurvy?
yeah, I'm trying to wean myself off of scurvy with soap. I don't actually consume the oranges, I just rub them on myself.
Do you subsume them?
I could. Well, there has to be two different kinds of oranges, and
Uh,
then you can, yeah,
move through
then
them,
absorb them into
absorb them.
yourself, move
Yeah,
beyond them.
orange is a fun one, and I watched a video a while back about how brown is actually just a different, I think tint is the word, but of orange, and we talked about that on the show a while back. So that was an interesting. Brown is an interesting color, and had a good larger discussion on color, and that video is also interesting. So you guys can get that link. So P. What pops in your head when I say
Oh,
P?
platypus for sure.
Yeah. Have you ever interacted with a platypus or seen a platypus or
Only in like cartoons and
yeah.
documentaries. Yeah,
Yeah, all I can think of
cartoon
is
ones are always cute.
Psyduck, the Pokemon.
Ooh,
Did you ever do the Pokemon thing? Being an old
no,
man?
no,
Yeah.
no. Just in general, no.
Yeah, just across the board, no.
Across the board,
Well, you
no.
spent some time in Japan. I didn't know if
No, my wife is a huge Pokemon person. So, like the game anyway, the walking
so
game.
she's not like partially Pokemon. That's not what you meant.
No, she might be at this point. We're just waiting for the transformative stage to take place. But yeah, no, when
It's called
one of the things
evolving.
evolve, yeah,
Clearly, you don't know Pokemon.
no, thank goodness. If I had the terminology correct, you'd catch me out. No, she's huge into it, and so it's kind of a fun thing for us to sort of do is like I will drive her around parks really slowly and look creepy while she plays Pokemon in the car.
Nice. Q. Quickly. Quick. Doing things quick. Do you ever have issues
Oh,
things going too quick or
I have a lot of trouble on the basketball court being quick enough.
yeah.
But in
Reminds me
life
of that commercial.
itself,
Gotta be quicker than that. You seen that? Do
yeah,
you even know
no,
what commercial I'm talking
no, I
about?
don't. I
Okay,
don't.
it's
I'm
a
just
one of those
thinking about
insurance
quick.
commercials. I don't even know which one. That's how effective they are. But
Oh,
they have the fishing line and fishing pole, and on the end is a dollar, and he's like dangling like a dollar in front of somebody, and
no,
they're trying to
no,
grab it, and it's like an old man. He's like, "Gotta be quicker than that." So after I saw
no.
that, I actually went and bought that insurance.
Oh, wow. It did
Yeah,
work.
it did.
Quickly?
I got that daughter. I got
Wow.
that dollar. Got that daughter for $1.
Oh. So, yeah, no, I don't I'm more of a slow and steady guy, and I'm also highly prolific according to most artists and people I know. So, I make a lot of stuff, but I'm not interested in speed.
I can respect that, and I if we're talking about athletics, I would say I am quick but not fast. So I'm light on my feet, but my top speed is going to be lower than others. Uh, R, what a great letter, am I right?
Ah, yes, it's just a ridiculous letter.
Ridiculous. Have you ever seen the show Ridiculousness?
No.
It's a show, I think it was on MTV, and basically is one of those shows where they show clips of people either doing something ridiculous or hurting themselves or doing something silly. Have you seen a type of show that's kind of like that? Where they just like show a
Like
clip and then talk
Jackass,
about it?
maybe?
Yes, except this one's more like a compilation. They have the producers on the back end go and grab all these videos from the internet, and I'm sure people submit them, and they're like,
Like
"Oh yeah, that was me. I
oh,
had to
like
get
America's
testicle
Funniest
surgery
Home
after that."
Videos?
Yeah, except much more like brutal, probably,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
out there because it's MTV. It's not ABC or whatever. This is not your
yeah.
family's funniest home videos. This is
Well,
for the youths.
yeah, I'm also not all that interested in it. Like I've been the guy that's probably had some of those things happen. I don't find them all that amusing anymore.
Yeah, that sounds like some stories we'll have to hear at some point. Um, and then we've got S, snow. Do you like snow, Mister Scarf Boy?
Only when there's a purpose behind it.
Meaning like you are interacting with the snow, or what? What do you mean
Yeah,
by that?
yeah. If I'm having a snowball fight, or I'm going snow skiing, or we needed a white Christmas for my wife to be happy, I'm all for snow. And then when it's just random, and I have to fight with it and shovel the sidewalk and people drive like maniacs, not interested in snow.
Well, I remember we actually had one white Christmas here in McKinney. Um, I don't know. Were you around when that white Christmas came?
I feel like I was. I feel like
Yeah,
I was here
I feel
for
like it was
that.
sometime in the '90s or the early aughts, but I could be wrong because I think I was a wee lad, but maybe not. I don't remember exactly. I just remember that it happened and be like, hey, in McKinney where it snows maybe once a year if you're lucky, and then like the other gamble is okay, it snows, is it gonna stick? And then we had that white Christmas and I was like, wow, miracles do happen. I can be happy now.
I know. Finally, my life is right for 2 days, and then it melts.
T.
Ah, tetanus.
Tetanus. Oh, okay. Actually, have you ever had any scares like where you cut yourself on something? You're like, dang it, I gotta go get my booster, or I don't know the last time I got my
I've
shot.
I've stepped on a nail before and had it go through my shoe into my foot, and
Ooh.
yeah, and that was the one where you just go, yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go to the hospital and or a doctor and have them check this out.
I don't remember exactly what like the symptoms of or whatever that cause it, or like when you get tetanus. But it's one of those things where it's like I feel like most people don't question that vaccine, and it's been around for a while. But I don't know. I'd be curious to know if that's just one of those things where like it's really bad and you're like I don't want a chance of that happening to me because I think that's kind of my would it be. I think tetanus can get real nasty real fast, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's I've always it's just such a scare thing that it was just like I went and they're like, "Oh, you still got like a year before you have to get reboosted or whatever." And then I ended up being fine, just, walking around in squishy bloody socks for a while.
Yeah, and did you go step on more nails after that? Oh, I'm
Yeah,
protected
yeah.
for
So,
another year.
oh, look, hey everybody. Watch this. And then they put
uh,
it onto a video show.
yeah, uterus.
uh, I don't am I allowed to comment? I don't
You've been
have
inside
one,
one,
so
so there's that.
there we go. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think about them much, but naturally I start thinking about Texas's new legislation and policies when you bring up words like that. So
Ah,
I don't know if we
yes.
want to go down that rabbit hole.
That sounds like a unwieldy thing to talk about. Uh, and yeah, when I think about uteri, the first thing I think about is the removal of them,
Hmm.
especially having some. Not elderly, although I have to say that was the first word that came to mind. Some middle-aged women in my life who've had theirs removed. One because of natural reasons, and some also because of cancer and hormones and things like that. It seems to be one of the more common organ removals surgeries done. And yeah, it's an interesting thing though. Just a little sac that people grow inside. I mean that's a pretty fun job, I think, of all the organs. Like, would you rather be skin, where like you got to fight off everything, the first layer of protection, and then people just put oil on you and toast you, or would you rather carry a baby around?
Yeah, I don't know. Babies get heavy after a while.
That's for sure. All right, V. What do you got? Stick away from the
Vendetta.
nice V for Vendetta. Okay, I need to go see that movie again. Did you ever
Oh,
see that one?
yeah, yeah. I saw it years ago. I guess like Natalie Portman is in it, and which is before she became like Princess Amidala or whatever. But yeah, I kind of enjoyed it because I think it's Alan Moore that did the comic book series for it, and he's also the same guy that did Watchmen.
Oh, okay. And are you a fan of that or?
Yeah, I'm a fan of his. I like what he makes, and so yeah, and also V for Vendetta. The whole thing is kind of interesting. Most of the books are against sort of governmental systems, or they at least show flaws and foibles in them, and I'm always a big fan of that.
Yeah, it came out in 2005, and I don't know if I've seen it since back then. So I definitely want to go revisit it now that I've learned a lot more and have a new lens on all of that. It's about overthrowing the government, and remember the 5th of November. That's about all I remember of that speech. Guy Fawkes, if that
Guy
means anything
Fawkes.
to
Yeah.
anybody. WTHIW. W.
Uh, I actually thought of George W. Bush.
Oh, sorry. Let me start that again. W.
W. Yeah, and
W.
that's because we were driving to Houston to take down Suan's art show, and we saw a sign, and somebody's running for some sort of office, and there it's like George H. Bush is the guy's name, and
Yeah.
I was like, oh, all of a sudden that W is very important. But I think more important when I'm driving through Texas is seeing a W for Whataburger. I think that counts much more for me.
Yeah, that is a very satisfying thing to see. And I know most people who come from Texas that I've interacted with, when they leave Texas and then they come back on travel, like that's like, all right, got to stop by, give me Whataburger. And it's not that it's like the most amazing food in the world, but it's good, and of course, it's got nostalgic factor associated with it. And for those of you who aren't familiar, Whataburger is a fast food chain in the South, largely the Southeast, but they go as far west as Arizona. And unfortunately, they have in Arizona, New Mexico, and in West Texas, they do a green chili burger, which is really good, but they don't do it in Texas, at least besides like limited specials, which is
Oh, it's
kind
on
of.
right now.
Ooh, it's on right
Ooh,
now.
yeah.
That gotta go
Go
get you one of those. Those are tasty.
get
Uh,
you one.
WTUVWX.
Xylophone?
Have you ever played a xylophone?
No, I'm just trying to think of a word that starts with X.
Yeah, I've got xylophone and X-ray. Xenophobic. Let's do that one.
Ooh, yeah. I'm not, so
So
we've
to
got that.
define it, xenophobic
Yeah,
is
I
someone
got the
who's like fearing
vaccine. I'm no
foreigners.
longer. Yeah, I think xenophobia is fear of the outsider. I think that you could try to define it more as like other nations or other races or something along those lines. It's not necessarily racism, but xenophobia is sort of maybe a fear of the other, and then coming in and I don't know, attacking you, taking your job, or reshifting your culture around different principles. That's one of the larger fears as well that people have.
Yeah, and in Texas here, there are certainly a good chunk of the population who has xenophobia of Mexicans coming in and of Californians. As actually the new xenophobia is like, them damn Californians coming in here and getting mad about my uterus policy. What's wrong with it? TUVX. Why? Yo-yo. You ever do a yo-yo? Was that a
I went through a phase when I was maybe 16 where I carried a yo-yo with me for a while.
Oh,
And it
you not just
did
did it, but you carried it
did
with you.
tricks. I carried it with yeah, I carried it did tricks, walk the dog and
And was
would
this
do the
why
little
you're not that
cradle.
familiar with the uterus?
Yeah, I never really got close to one. Really.
What was your favorite yo-yo trick?
Oh, as whatever the cradle one is, where you sort of pull up the triangle and the yo-yo.
Rock the cradle.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that was always a fun one. And other than that, is like, and then you could find that you could buy these amazing yo-yos that are built just for like where you can walk the dog instantly every time without any real skill. Like it would just go down and stay down there spinning, and then you just tightly move your finger and it just come up. And it was just like so. There's these profound technology in yo-yos, which is a field I didn't think would ever need
Yeah.
technology.
I'd be curious if the bearings world got improved because of the yo-yo. Yeah, it was funny though. A week or two ago, we were walking just around my apartment, and I saw. We looked over, and I did a double take. I'm like, "Is that a yo-yo?" Because I don't think I'd seen one in person in over a decade, if not longer. And another yo-yo is Yo-Yo Ma, the composer, and yet
Mm.
another yo-yo is a term called yo-yo dieting, which we'll talk about tomorrow actually with our guest. So we'll have on. Oh man, I'm gonna blank on his name right now. But
Paul? No,
no,
I said Paul last time, and you
you
said
did
no.
say Paul.
David,
It wasn't him then either. But that's okay.
Sam,
Uh,
Johnny.
he's Latino. The last name, okay, I got it. It's David. David Orozco. David Orozco will be joining us tomorrow. He's a nutritionist, and among other things, we'll talk about yo-yo dieting. All right, the last one is Z. You got anything off the top of head for Z?
Xenophobia.
uh, so Z, I'm
How
gonna use
about
the word
Prince?
Zed.
Zed. Okay, Zed. He sounds like the bad guy in a Superman movie.
So there actually is a Zed character in the game League of Legends. Is that's Z, I think, and he is an assassin. But Zed actually, the first time I said it, I was just talking about how I think besides America, most English-speaking languages, when they say the letter Z, they don't say Z, they say Zed. Have you ever heard that or noticed that before?
I think I've heard you use it before, but
Well, it's because
it's
I'm
and
British. You know.
well, you're so classy. I
Yeah.
just kind of always assumed
Yeah,
just
actually got a spot of tea right here.
that British Garcia. No,
Brit-
yeah, the Zed thing. I don't know. Doesn't it feels like some sort of derivation that's supposed to be like a Greek version of Z. Like you would say A is alpha and O is omega and
Mhm.
Z is Z. But
No, yeah, that's an interesting thing about Greek letters is because some of them kind of go similarly with the American alphabet. Like, oh, alpha's first, beta second, A, B makes sense, and then yeah, the last letter is omega, which is
yeah,
yeah,
so
you're
weird.
kind of thrown off. So A to Z, Ryder, any of those really surprise you or catch you off guard?
The uterus.
Does the uterus always catch you off guard though?
Yeah, so just like I don't know. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
probably not appealing to anyone to have a man in this age be squeamish about things like that, but I am.
Well, I don't blame you. So, Ryder, the last thing we're going to do today is we're going to have Danielle pull one card for us so we can have that. But before that, I'm going to put you on the spot again and
Oh
tell
boy.
me about your fart art for about 30 seconds.
Oh, okay. So this was part of a series I did, I think, just uh, 4 paintings, and I did something like 8 drawings that were based around, and the drawings were actually individual. So they're people that look like they're floating up in the air while asleep. These people were all wearing business clothes, and the thing that was lifting them up in the air was their farts. So I kind of got into this idea of the sort of crass bodily functions as a way to sort of reground people, but also sort of within capitalism, this idea of putting on the outfit or the uniform and pretending to be something that you're not. So whenever you're sort of pretending to be something you're not, then the one thing that can really reground you is bodily functions. So kind of got back into that. The art references behind me are, of course, pop art, which I thought was really funny. You almost have to make fart art out of pop art once you sort of go graphic with these little fart clouds. So that's where a lot of this comes from. They're sort of riffs on this one, the ones behind me anywhere, riffs on earlier styles of art, but also just sort of practicing craft. I think it's interesting to make really finely tuned craft about maybe crass subjects.
So I can't hear anything.
I like that. Thank you for sharing. So now here we have Danielle. Here you go. Throwing AirPods everywhere. All right. Oh, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Well, so for those who have not met Danielle before, Danielle is my wife, and she does tarot as a practice for journaling and yeah. What do you do tarot for?
Yeah, just myself reflection prompts.
Yeah, and occasionally she'll pull some cards for us here on the show, and also just friends and family as time goes on. And so one of the ways that you pull tarot is just doing one card. What versus some other times where you do maybe three. You have one for the past, one for the present, one for the future. So yeah, Ryder, do you have any I don't know. I guess how would you like to pull one card today?
Yeah, do we have a question or anything?
You got anything, or I can gladly ask a question here.
Yeah, no. Y'all hash that out. I don't have anything to offer on this one.
All right, Danielle, what is the secret to success?
Ooh.
Tell me, mystical lady. Show me.
So, your success specifically?
Oh, I don't know.
Is this for you or
No, general success.
general success?
Yes.
In 2022 for everyone.
let's say,
Okay.
what is the secret to success in 2022?
What is the secret to success?
As determined randomly from a deck of cards.
Let's do this one. Okay. So this is the Five of Cups, which doesn't look very successful. It talks about so basically it shows a picture of a man who's standing in like a dark cape, and there's all these spilled cups around him, and he's facing the 3 that are spilled and turning away from the 2 that are full. So this card talks about like realizing what we have to be grateful for, and also like releasing grief, I guess. So maybe we can try and forget some of the bad things about 2020 and 2021, and then focus on gratitude in 2022.
I mean, I think that's a pretty good message.
Sure.
Yeah, so I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Ryder, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, we did talk about quitting earlier. We've had an episode about that, and there is something about letting go of things, so that you can move on. And interesting to think maybe success would include letting go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we talked a lot about how, like, hey, sometimes the first step you need to do before adding more things is to take something off your plate. And for Ryder, that's been the uterus his entire life.
Yeah, that's never made it onto my plate, and very thankful for that.
Which makes me think of, the people who eat the, what's it called?
Placenta.
Yeah, that's a fun trend that seems to be growing these days. So, with
a trend
from A to Z, and then talking about placentas, it's been a fun one, Ryder. Do you have any parting thoughts or a challenge that came from our discussion today?
Oh, don't be xenophobic.
I want to watch V for Vendetta. I've never seen it, actually, so I don't know.
I like that.
That's my personal challenge from today.
Personal challenge. Watch V for Vendetta, and don't be xenophobic. How can somebody take a step towards doing that?
I think first probably look up the word, make sure that we understand what we're talking about there. I think another thing that I've always heard is to sort of, or not always heard, but there's a sort of famous quote about to cure ignorance, read; to cure racism or xenophobia, travel.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the steps is to actually go travel the world, and it'll help you get over weird issues you might have with other people that you probably don't know. You're not, qualified to judge because you haven't actually been around them.
Yeah, I think a big thing with not just xenophobia, but any kind of like discrimination and judgment and things like that about other people is a lot easier when you don't recognize or see them as humans and as people. And for example, here in Texas, xenophobia, one of the ways comes is immigration from Mexico, right? Well, it's one thing to say, hey, they should never come over, all this types of thing. It's another thing to be looking in the eyes of somebody who you came from there, and they've maybe even been living alongside you for years and trying to raise their kid and make a better life for their family. And it's a little harder to look them in the eye as a person and say, hey, you need to get out, right? So having that anytime you are judging or discriminating against somebody, learning a little bit more about them and their process and what's going on, and also recognizing, hey, don't write off an entire something just because you experienced one representation of it. Like, if you happen to see Ryder and hear him talk about philosophy, and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't ever want to learn anything about philosophy, well, then you're missing out, because there's a lot of different ways to think about and talk about philosophy.
Yeah, and I'm not even that good at it, right? So, that's the other thing. Maybe it's the bumpy introduction you're getting that has always turned you off. So don't judge me based on that, or don't judge philosophy based on me.
Right. Yeah, and same kind of thing. Like, if you for example, especially when it comes to racism, like maybe you've been around a certain type of person that happened to have that color of skin, but that's not necessarily how all people are, right? So, well, with that, everybody have a wonderful Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure I'm not going to recap because recapping from A to Z would get a little bit messy. He's like, no, make it stop, please. And to join us tomorrow, it's going to be a really interesting discussion as we talk with David Orozco. We're talking about nutrition and food and talk about some plans that we have for the future around those things. So with that, everyone have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks, Ryder.
Yeah. Take care.